Time is not just a number on a clock. It is not just the passing of minutes and hours we track on our phones or watches. Time is the very fabric of life itself. Every breath we take, every thought we entertain, every action we execute is purchased with time. It is the most valuable currency we will ever possess. And yet it is the one most casually wasted. Think about it. Money lost can be earned back. Opportunities missed may return in a different form. But time, once gone, is gone forever. There is no negotiation with it, no transaction where you can buy back even a single second. The wealthiest billionaire and the poorest man in the world both wake up every morning with the same 24 hours. And the only real difference between them is how they choose to spend this priceless currency. Most people live as if they have an infinite supply of time. They delay dreams, they postpone decisions. They convince themselves that tomorrow will be a better day to begin. That next year will somehow magically align the stars and give them the courage they lack today. But here is the sobering truth. Tomorrow is never promised. The clock is always ticking, and it ticks for all of us equally, regardless of our status, culture, or beliefs. It is not biased. It does not stop for those who are unprepared, and it does not accelerate for those who are desperate. It simply moves forward. The tragedy is not that life is short, but that so much of it is wasted in trivial pursuits that add no value to our growth, our happiness, or our legacy. Time is life's currency because it demands investment, not mindless spending. If you think of every second as a coin, then your days are a series of transactions. Where are you spending those coins? Are you investing them into meaningful work, self-development, love, relationships, and dreams? Or are you throwing them into the abyss of distractions, scrolling endlessly, worrying about things beyond your control, replaying mistakes of the past, or waiting for the perfect conditions to begin something meaningful? If your time is going into places that do not return growth or fulfillment, then you are operating at a loss far greater than financial bankruptcy. Consider how differently life looks when we measure time not in hours, but in choices. The book you could have written in the last year, the business you could have started, the fitness you could have achieved, the relationships you could have nurtured. All of these are potential returns on the investment of time. And yet, when time is wasted, the loss is invisible until it becomes irreversible. You cannot look back at your 20s or 30s and ask for a refund. You cannot say to life, I didn't use those years well, let me live them again. Those years are gone, and they have written themselves into your story, whether or not you consciously chose the direction. That is the weight of time. It is writing your biography, line by line, whether you are awake to it or not. The most successful individuals in the world are not necessarily more talented, more intelligent, or more privileged. What sets them apart is that they value time as the sacred currency it is. They prioritize, they focus. They guard their hours as fiercely as a treasure chest. They know that every yes to one thing is a no to something else, and so they choose wisely. They invest in their vision, in discipline, in learning, in action. Meanwhile, the majority are casual with their time, and that casualness compounds into years of mediocrity. The truth is, mediocrity is not a result of lack of opportunity. It is the outcome of wasted time. We deceive ourselves by thinking time is abundant. I'll do it later. I'll call them tomorrow. I'll start next month. And yet, how many times have you lost someone you loved suddenly, without warning? How many times have you looked back on a year that passed in a blur and realized you accomplished nothing you truly cared about? This is the cruel illusion of time. We believe we own it, but in reality, it owns us. The only control we have is in the present moment, the now, this very breath. And if you do not take ownership of this moment, then the next one will slip away just the same, until one day you realize an entire life has passed in hesitation, distraction, and wasted potential. Time is not money, because money can be counted, saved, and earned again. Time is infinitely more valuable, because once it is spent, it cannot be replenished. If you guard your money, but not your time, you are protecting the less valuable asset, while hemorrhaging the most precious one. The tragedy is that most people protect their possessions more than their minutes. They would never let a stranger steal money from their wallet, but they allow hours to be stolen by meaningless conversations, gossip, comparison, and mindless habits. Every wasted hour is an unseen theft of your own destiny. A robbery you allowed because you did not recognize the value of what was being taken. When you begin to view time as life's currency, you will treat it with reverence. You will become conscious of how you spend it. You will ask yourself with every choice, is this worthy of my life's currency? Because that is what it comes down to. Every decision, every activity, every relationship is either worthy of your life or it is not. And you only get one life. You cannot afford to waste the currency that defines it. Distraction has become the most silent, yet most powerful thief of human potential. It does not announce itself loudly, like a sudden disaster, nor does it strike with the violence of a great tragedy. Instead, it creeps in quietly, softly, almost invisibly, until entire years of your life have slipped away. The truth is, distraction rarely feels dangerous in the moment. In fact, it often feels harmless, even pleasurable. A few minutes on social media, one more episode of a show, another scroll through the endless feed, a conversation filled with gossip that serves no purpose. All of these feel small, insignificant, and forgivable. But what most people fail to realize is that these little distractions are not isolated moments. They are patterns, and patterns shape destiny. What you give your attention to today creates the person you become tomorrow. It is easy to underestimate distraction because it disguises itself as relaxation, entertainment, or harmless delay. But every distraction carries an opportunity cost. The time you give to scrolling, to gossip, to procrastination is time stolen from building, creating, growing, and evolving. Distraction does not just rob you of the present. It robs you of the future you could have built if your focus had remained intact. The dreams you postpone, the skills you never master, the relationships you neglect, the health you ignore, all fall victim to the thief called distraction. It does not attack your life in one dramatic moment, but slowly, steadily, and with frightening consistency. Most people think they are in control of their lives, but in reality, they are controlled by distractions engineered to steal their focus. Technology companies design platforms that reward your brain with dopamine. Every time you scroll or click, advertisers flood your mind with noise to keep your attention fragmented. Notifications, pop-ups, endless updates. They are all systems built to make sure your attention never rests long enough to create something meaningful. But the saddest truth of all is not that these distractions exist. It is that so many people willingly hand over their attention without resistance, unaware that they are sacrificing their destiny one small click at a time. Greatness has never been achieved in a distracted state. No masterpiece was painted while the artist was checking messages every 10 minutes. No groundbreaking invention was created by someone who spent half the day consumed with meaningless chatter. No dream was realized by someone who could not protect their focus. Your destiny is tied directly to your ability to direct your energy. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If your attention is fragmented, your life will be fragmented. If your focus is scattered, your results will be scattered. But when your energy is channeled, when your mind is free from distraction, you can create at a level most people only dream of. The danger of distraction is not only that it steals your time, but that it numbs your awareness of what is being stolen. At the end of a distracted day, you feel as though you have been busy because your hours were filled with activity. But if you reflect honestly, you will see that very little of that activity moved you closer to your true goals. Distraction creates the illusion of productivity without the reality of progress. It keeps you spinning in circles, exhausted but stagnant, busy but unfulfilled. And this illusion is the most dangerous prison of all, because you do not even realize you are trapped until years have passed and regret sets in. We often look at failure as the result of one big mistake, one wrong decision, one massive loss. But in truth, failure most often arrives from a series of small distractions compounded over time. Every hour wasted becomes a day. Every day wasted becomes a month, and every month wasted becomes a year. By the time most people realize what has happened, the thief has already stolen the best years of their lives. Distraction is not a momentary inconvenience. It is a lifestyle that shapes your character, your habits, and your outcomes. There is a reason why some people achieve extraordinary results, while others spend their entire lives dreaming. It is not always intelligence, resources, or even talent. It is focus. The ability to say no to distractions, to resist the pull of meaningless noise, to choose creation over consumption, to prioritize growth over comfort. The people who rise above the rest are those who learn how to master their attention and guard it like their most precious asset. Because it is. Attention is life. What you give it to becomes your reality. If you give it to distractions, you will live a life of wasted potential. If you give it to your vision, you will live a life of impact and fulfillment. The greatest tragedy is that distraction feels normal because everyone is caught in it. When you look around and see others wasting their time, it gives you permission to waste yours too. But destiny is never shaped by following the crowd. The crowd is distracted. The crowd is noisy. The crowd is restless. The crowd is unfocused. And the crowd will die with regrets. To rise above the crowd, you must discipline yourself to resist what they embrace. You must protect your attention as though your future depends on it, because it does. Distraction will always be available. Always tempting, always easier than focus. But the cost is heavy. The dreams you have, the goals you whisper to yourself late at night, the life you secretly long for will never be realized if distraction owns your days. You cannot build a future while serving a thief. And make no mistake, distraction is the most cunning thief you will ever encounter, because it does not break into your home. It walks in through the door you left wide open. Clarity is a force. It has the power to transform confusion into direction, hesitation into momentum, and wasted time into purposeful action. When you have clarity about who you are and where you are going, you no longer spend hours or days second guessing yourself or chasing things that have nothing to do with your deeper purpose. Most people are not truly short on time. They are short on clarity. They wake up every morning reacting to life instead of creating it, pulled in 100 different directions by demands, distractions, and expectations. Without clarity, life feels heavy, like walking through fog where every step is uncertain. With clarity, the fog lifts, and suddenly the path ahead is visible, sharp, and undeniable. You move faster not because you are rushing, but because you know exactly where to place your energy. Clarity creates speed because it removes hesitation. Think about how much time is lost in doubt, in debating, in circling around decisions that should be simple. A person without clarity will spend days questioning whether they should start a project, whether they should commit to a goal, whether they should take a risk. They will procrastinate, overthink, and then end up doing nothing. Meanwhile, a person with clarity will make the decision instantly because their vision has already been defined. They know what fits and what doesn't. They know what aligns and what doesn't. Clarity acts as a filter, allowing them to discard everything that is irrelevant to their purpose. This simple act of cutting away the unnecessary is what accelerates progress. So many people exhaust themselves, not because they are working too hard, but because they are working on things that do not matter. They are running in circles, chasing opportunities that are not aligned with their values or their vision, engaging in commitments that drain their energy instead of fueling it. Clarity is what saves you from this trap. When you are clear, you stop wasting energy on the wrong pursuits. You stop saying yes to everything and start saying yes only to what serves your higher goal. That is how clarity creates not only speed but freedom. You are free from the chaos of indecision and the weight of obligations that do not belong to you. Clarity is not something that appears by accident. It comes from reflection, from asking yourself the difficult questions most people avoid. Who am I? What do I want? What am I willing to sacrifice to get it? What truly matters to me, beyond the noise of society, family expectations, or comparison to others? The reason most people never experience clarity is because they are afraid of the answers. They fear discovering that the path they are on is not the right one, or that they have wasted years chasing something meaningless. But the sooner you face those answers, the sooner you can stop wasting time and start living in alignment with your truth. When you have clarity, even challenges feel different. Obstacles no longer appear as reasons to quit, but as tests of commitment. Without clarity, every setback feels like a dead end, and you find yourself quitting before you've even begun. With clarity, setbacks are temporary. They may slow you down, but they cannot stop you because the destination remains unchanged in your mind. That inner certainty becomes an unstoppable force, guiding you forward. Even when circumstances are difficult, clarity also simplifies your life. Think about how much mental energy is wasted in doubt and confusion. Without clarity, your mind is crowded with questions, insecurities, and constant what-ifs. But when you know where you are going, your decisions become straightforward. Every choice is weighed against your vision. Does this move me closer, or does it pull me away? That one question is enough to eliminate so much unnecessary noise. Suddenly, you are no longer scattered but focused, no longer pulled in every direction but anchored in one. This simplification is what creates power, because your entire being, mind, body, and spirit is moving in the same direction. The world has always rewarded clarity. Leaders, visionaries, creators, and innovators were not always the smartest or the most talented, but they were clear. They knew what they wanted to build, and they refused to dilute their attention. That clarity inspired others, attracted opportunities, and created momentum. People are drawn to those who know where they are going, because certainty is magnetic in a world drowning in confusion. When you stand in clarity, you not only move faster yourself, but also inspire others to move with you. Clarity is also about knowing what to let go of. Sometimes it is not about adding more goals, but about removing the ones that don't belong to you. So many people are burdened by goals they never truly chose, dreams inherited from parents, or ambitions borrowed from society. They climb ladders only to discover the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Clarity forces you to confront this, to realign with what is truly yours, and in doing so, you save yourself from decades of wasted time. When you understand the role of clarity in your life, you stop chasing everything and begin to pursue only what matters. Your days become intentional, your actions become deliberate, and your energy is preserved for what will create real impact. That is why clarity creates speed. It is not about moving frantically or working harder than everyone else. It is about removing everything that slows you down, everything that confuses you, everything that is irrelevant to your vision. And once you do, what once felt impossible suddenly becomes inevitable, because your entire life is aligned in one focused direction. Excuses are the easiest escape from responsibility, and yet they are the heaviest chains that bind us to an unfulfilled life. They feel comfortable, they feel logical, and in the moment they even protect our ego from the discomfort of failure or rejection. But every excuse is a trade. You exchange a piece of your future for temporary relief in the present. You silence your inner potential just so you don't have to face the challenge that lies ahead. Over time, these small trades add up until you find yourself years later with nothing but regrets and stories about why things never worked out. Excuses may feel like a shield, but in truth, they are thieves, stealing your opportunities one by one while convincing you that you are safe. When you stop making excuses and begin taking action, something shifts inside you. The mind is no longer occupied with reasons why things cannot be done. It becomes occupied with finding ways to make them happen. Excuses close doors while action opens them. The smallest action is infinitely more valuable than the most elaborate excuse. A single step forward, no matter how imperfect, carries the weight of progress, while excuses only deepen stagnation. Most people wait for the right time, the right circumstances, or the right level of confidence before they begin. But those perfect conditions never come. Action creates the conditions, not the other way around. Excuses are seductive because they often sound reasonable. I don't have the resources. I don't have the time. I'm not ready? What if I fail? These phrases echo in countless minds and feel justified. Yet, for every excuse, there is someone in the world who faced the same limitation and chose action instead. History is filled with examples of individuals who began with less than nothing, who had every reason to delay, and still moved forward. What separated them was not circumstances but decisions. They refused to let excuses dictate their lives. They replaced excuses with action, and that choice altered their destiny. Every time you make an excuse, you reinforce a habit of avoidance. And habits, once ingrained, shape character. A person who consistently finds reasons not to act becomes someone who cannot trust themselves. Someone who knows deep down that they are capable of more, but continually chooses less. This inner conflict creates frustration and eats away at self-respect. On the other hand, every small action builds self-trust. Even if the outcome is imperfect, the act of doing builds momentum, and momentum is far more powerful than perfection. Once you move, once you take that first uncomfortable step, the next one becomes easier, and the one after that easier still. The human mind craves progress. It is wired to grow, to stretch, to expand. But excuses choke that growth. They keep you trapped in the illusion of safety, while your potential rots away unused. Taking action, even in small ways, is what awakens that dormant potential. It is not about making giant leaps every day, but about refusing to stand still. If you cannot run, walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. Just move. Because movement creates clarity, courage, and capability. Excuses create nothing but stagnation. It is important to understand that excuses do not remove the pain of effort. They only replace it with the pain of regret. Effort is temporary, but regret is permanent. When you look back on your life, you will not remember the times you were tired, afraid, or uncomfortable. You will remember the things you didn't do, the chances you didn't take, the opportunities you let pass by, because you convinced yourself you weren't ready. That is the true cost of excuses, the silent weight of what could have been. When you commit to action, even imperfect action, you break that cycle. You prove to yourself that you are capable of more than your fears suggest. Money. You discover that the barriers you thought were immovable were only illusions created by hesitation. Action dissolves fear in a way that excuses never can. The longer you wait, the larger your fear grows. The moment you act, fear begins to shrink. This is why the bold move forward, not because they are fearless, but because they know that action is the cure for fear. Excuses also rob you of time. Every delay adds up, and time wasted cannot be reclaimed. The idea that you will start tomorrow or next week is an illusion that feeds on your willingness to wait. Tomorrow turns into months, months into years, and years into a lifetime of unrealized dreams. Action, however, multiplies time. The sooner you begin, the more time you have to grow, to adjust, to learn, and to succeed. Procrastination may feel safe, but it is the most expensive choice you can make. At the heart of every excuse is the fear of discomfort. But growth and comfort cannot coexist. The path to transformation will always demand effort, risk, and perseverance. Excuses try to shield you from discomfort, but in doing so, they also shield you from greatness. Every excuse is a wall between you and your higher self, and the only way to break that wall is through deliberate action. Even the smallest action sends a signal to your subconscious that you are in control, that you are not defined by fear or limitation. And once you start sending that signal repeatedly, your mind begins to shift, your confidence grows, and you begin to expect success rather than doubt it. Action is not about having all the answers. It is about trusting that answers will come once you begin. Excuses demand certainty before starting, but life does not work that way. You cannot control every variable, and you cannot predict every outcome. What you can do is control your decision to act. And that decision sets everything else in motion. Progress belongs to those who dare to move, not to those who wait for perfect conditions. The smallest step today carries more power than 1,000 excuses whispered over a lifetime. Time is the most sacred resource you will ever possess, yet most people treat it as if it were infinite. They act as if tomorrow is guaranteed, as if next year will arrive exactly as they have planned, and as if their dreams will patiently wait until they feel ready. But time is not patient. It does not pause. It does not negotiate. It does not return once it is gone. To truly grasp the weight of this truth, you must learn to value your time as you value your very breath, because in reality, they are the same. Every moment that passes is a piece of your life, exchanged for whatever you choose to do in that second. If you waste your time, you waste your life. If you honor your time, you honor your existence. Think about how carefully people guard their possessions. They lock their doors, they hide their money, they protect their valuables from theft. But how many of those same people give their time away carelessly, without thought or awareness? They spend hours lost in meaningless arguments, endless distractions, and empty routines, never questioning whether these as moments are worth their life's currency. If someone were to steal money from their pocket, they would be outraged. But when hours of their lives are stolen by procrastination, distractions, or negativity, they shrug it off as normal. Yet money can be earned again, time cannot. This is why valuing time is not optional. It is essential if you wish to live a life of meaning and impact. Valuing your time begins with awareness. Every day, you should ask yourself a simple question. Is what I am doing right now moving me closer to my dreams, or is it pulling me further away? This question acts as a compass, guiding your decisions and cutting through the noise of daily life. When you start viewing every action as an investment of time, you naturally become more intentional with your choices. You stop giving energy to things that drain you, and you start prioritizing the actions, relationships, and commitments that nourish your vision. Suddenly, the excuses you once entertained no longer feel acceptable because you understand the cost. They are robbing you of the one resource you cannot replace. Time, like oxygen, is invisible until you are deprived of it. You rarely think about it as it flows endlessly through your days. But once it is gone, you realize it was everything. Those who have faced illness, loss, or near-death experiences often describe a heightened sense of urgency afterward, a new perspective where every moment feels precious. They stop wasting hours on trivial matters because they understand how fragile life truly is. But why must one wait for tragedy to recognize what has always been true? The wise choose to value their time before life forces them to. They live with urgency not because they fear death, but because they respect life. Valuing your time also means setting boundaries. Not everyone deserves access to your hours. Not every opportunity deserves your attention. And not every request deserves a yes. People often feel guilty for saying no, but every yes you give to something meaningless is a no you give to something meaningful. Your dreams, your health, your loved ones, your growth. These are the areas where your time creates the highest return. If you are constantly giving your time away to obligations that do not serve you, then you are bankrupting yourself in the areas that matter most. The most fulfilled individuals are not those who do everything, but those who choose wisely, who invest deeply in fewer but more significant areas of life. It is also important to recognize that valuing time does not mean filling every moment with work or productivity. It means being deliberate. Resting with intention is valuable. Spending time with loved ones is valuable. Nurturing your mind and soul is valuable. The danger lies not in resting, but in drifting. There is a difference between recovery and distraction, between restoration and waste. When you know the difference, you can honor your time without guilt, ensuring that even your pauses are purposeful. So many people live in a state of waiting. They wait for the weekend. They wait for the holiday. They wait for retirement. They wait for the right conditions before they begin. In this waiting, life slips away unnoticed. Waiting. Waiting is the greatest thief of all because it convinces you that you are being patient when in reality you are surrendering your time to nothingness. Valuing your time requires that you stop waiting and start living now. Not tomorrow, not next year, but today. Because today is the only guarantee you have, and it deserves to be treated as the most precious gift you will ever hold. The more you value your time, the more others will value it too. People respect what you respect. And when they see that you treat your time as sacred, they will think twice before wasting it. You will attract those who align with your vision and repel those who do not. Your life will begin to filter itself naturally, leaving you surrounded by people and opportunities that honor your journey. This is not luck. It is the result of consciously valuing your time and refusing to settle for less. When you see time as oxygen, as the very breath of your existence, you no longer give it away casually. You recognize that every moment matters, that every choice carries weight, and that every day is an opportunity you will never see again. This awareness does not make life heavier. It makes it richer, sharper, and infinitely more meaningful. You begin to live fully, not because you have more time, but because you finally understand how to use the time you already have. Life is not measured by the number of years we live, but by what we do with the time we are given. Every human being carries within them untapped potential, dreams yet to be lived, and a capacity for greatness that often remains buried beneath fear, procrastination, and wasted opportunities. The harsh truth is that life is unpredictable. We do not know how many years we have, how many days are left, or how many chances will come our way. What we do know is that every moment we allow to pass without purpose is a moment we will never recover. The greatest tragedy is not death itself, but reaching the end of life only to realize that so much of our potential was never used, that we played it safe, that we settled, and that we allowed time to slip away without creating something meaningful. When people look back on their lives, they rarely regret the things they did. More often, they regret the things they never attempted, the words they never spoke, the chances they never took. They regret the book they never wrote, the business they never started, the dream they never pursued, the love they never expressed. These regrets are heavier than failure, because failure at least teaches you, shapes you, and expands you. Regret, however, offers nothing but a haunting reminder of what could have been. And regret always comes from the same source: wasted time. Every time you put off your dreams until tomorrow, every time you convince yourself that you are not ready, every time you allow fear to silence your ambition, you are writing a story of regret. Legacy, on the other hand, is built by those who refuse to wait. It is built by those who recognize that time is limited and therefore precious. A legacy is not something you leave behind by accident. It is created intentionally through the choices you make every day. It is not about wealth, fame, or recognition, but about impact, about how many lives you touched, how much love you gave, how courageously you lived, and how fully you used the gifts you were given. A legacy is not written in your words, but in your actions. Not in your intentions, but in your execution. The people who change the world are not always the ones with the most resources, but the ones who refuse to let time slip away unused. The question then becomes, what are you building with the time you have? Are you creating a life that will inspire others long after you are gone? Or are you drifting through each day, leaving behind nothing but wasted hours? Every decision you make adds a brick to either your legacy or your regret. Every moment spent with purpose strengthens your impact, while every moment wasted strengthens the weight of what you never achieved. Legacy is not something you begin thinking about at the end of your life. It is being shaped right now in how you spend this very day. It is easy to assume that legacy belongs only to extraordinary people. Leaders, artists, inventors, visionaries. But the truth is, everyone creates a legacy. The difference lies in whether it is a legacy of inspiration or a legacy of neglect. A parent creates a legacy in how they raise their children. A teacher creates a legacy in how they shape young minds. A friend creates a legacy in how they show up in times of need. Legacy does not always mean changing the entire world. Sometimes it means changing just one life, but doing so with such sincerity and love that your presence continues to echo long after you are gone. Wasting time is dangerous not only because it steals your present, but because it steals the legacy you could have left behind. If you choose distraction over purpose, comfort over courage, or excuses over action, you are not only robbing yourself of growth, but robbing the world of the contribution only you could make. No one else carries your exact combination of experiences, talents, and perspectives. If you do not use them, they will die with you, and the world will never know what was lost. This is why wasting time is not a private matter. It affects everyone. The world is poorer every time someone lets their potential go unused. Imagine reaching the end of your life and realizing that you had more inside you all along. That you had stories that were never told, skills that were never sharpened, kindness that was never given, courage that was never expressed. Imagine realizing that the life you lived was only a fraction of what it could have been, simply because you wasted too much time waiting, doubting, and delaying. That realization is the very essence of regret. But it does not have to be yours. You have the choice right now to live differently. Creating a legacy requires urgency, not the frantic urgency of panic, but the calm urgency of awareness. The awareness that time is fragile and precious, that every day counts, that there are no guarantees of tomorrow. This urgency drives you to stop postponing your dreams, to stop silencing your voice, to stop shrinking from your potential. It pushes you to act boldly, to take risks, to love deeply, to live fully. And in doing so, you build a life that, when reflected upon, brings peace instead of regret. At the end of it all, people will not remember how much time you had, but what you did with the time you were given. They will not measure your life in years, but in moments of impact. Did you inspire? Did you create? Did you love? Did you live fully? These are the questions that define legacy. money. And the answers are being written every single day in the way you choose to use your time.